Hey guys, welcome back to another N-Scale project video. Today I have a pair of these Showcase Miniatures Model 10 grade crossings in N-Scale. I have never purchased any of their products and I have never assembled anything like this before, so don't think of this as a tutorial, but more of an adventure that you're joining me along as I figure out how to build these. I've got these parts for two of them, and I've taken a look at them. They look really great. The detail is just so impressive. I also picked up LEDs. I got 4 of these little red 402 LEDs, and unfortunately realized just now that 4 of them is enough to do 1 crossing gate. So I'll be needing to order a few more of those. And I've got the instructions, and I'm going to start familiarizing myself with these, and we'll see where we go with this. Before even starting with the steps, I've lined up one of the brass masts with this diagram here, and using a fine tip Sharpie, marked each of the locations here for the top of the mast, center of sign, top of lights, top of control box, and then the top of the base. Now I've cleaned up the flashing around the light fixtures here, and I'm going to start drilling with this is a 25 thousandths drill bit. I'm going to drill a hole into each one to make space for the wires for the LEDs. Well, I think I need to invest in some nicer tiny drill bits, because those took a very long time to get through this soft metal. But I've got holes in each one of the light fixtures, so now it's time to wire in the LEDs. Well, I've got one of the LEDs wired through here now, and I've got to say, these look small in the pictures, but they are way smaller in person. But I guess I gotta dab a little glue in there and do the same thing with 3 more. And there are all 4 LEDs now glued into the light fixture. You can see I've got the wires straightened out here and taped at the end. Just makes them a little easier to work with. And now I'm going to start working on the mast. Well, it's not quite as straight as I was hoping for, but the light fixture is now glued to the mast. I also have the control box glued here. Just a little dab of super glue, and all 8 wires are threaded through a hole at the top of the control box and feeding out through the bottom. And the next step is to install these hood shields on each of the light fixtures. So I will be applying a little bit of super glue and then just laying that down on top. So just a drop on that side and a drop here. And using my tweezers, get that right on there. I got both hood shields glued on each side, and that is step 2 complete. The next step 3 is to align and glue the signal bell to the top of the mast. But as you can see in my prototype photo here, this is just Google Maps on the location of the crossing that I'm modeling. Neither of the masts have a bell at the top, so I am going to skip step 3. And step 4 is prepping the crossing gate. They give 3 different lengths, 12, 16, and 20 foot. I'm going to go with the 20 foot for this model. And then assembling it with super glue, applying paint, decals, and then dull coat to seal it all in. I got the crossing gate assembled and painted. I used this Monument acrylic paint, bold titanium white, with my airbrush, and then use rattle can to provide a dull coat layer. So now it is time to get some decals on. Well, that was a bit of an adventure, but I got the decal on one side. Still have to get it on the other side, so I'll do that now. And I got the other side all set now. That one was a little harder than the first side, but I think they both turned out okay. Also got a layer of microsalt on after they dried, so they should be softened and ready for a layer of dull coat tomorrow. All right, now that the crossing arm is all painted and decaled and ready to go, set that to the side. And cutting out next the cantilever arm bracket And I'm going to fold that to 90 degrees along these creases. Still not getting the best 90-degree angles, but I have now got the cantilever arm bracket attached to the crossing arm. And this little square piece here was not labeled other than O, but I got that attached as well. I was able to use little bits of a moldable eraser to plug the lights to prevent paint from getting on them, and spray painted with this Tamiya flat aluminum with my airbrush. And now I need to paint the hoods and the faces black, and I can uncover those now. I have used a small brush and this coal black acrylic paint from Monument Hobbies. Painted the faces and the tops of the light hoods. And now it is time to assemble the crossing bar. And I have this pin that will hold that on. I'll start with the crossing gate here, and I'm just going to put this around the control box. This pin, I did test fit the pin beforehand, and it was fitting. Well, that ended up being much harder to record than I thought it would be, but I got the pin successfully all the way across. As you can see, there's quite a bit of excess pin, so I'll just take my clippers and trim that down. But the action is very smooth and turns to a little bit lower than it will naturally go. That's fine, that'll be just adjusted out. Then once that's trimmed down, I'll get this push rod installed. I'll just clip into the side here, and then I can install the base. There we go, brass wire is trimmed down. Probably have a little extra length on it that I can adjust off still, but that's okay. Push rod is installed, and starting to feel like this is really starting to look like something. Now I've got the base here. The main mast part will go through the center hole, of course. All of the wiring will go to this hole that's off-centered slightly, and then the hole out here will be where the push rod is placed through. So now I get to work with these wires again, and I will be honest, these are so much smaller than I expected, and probably smaller than they look in the video. Okay, there's the base installed, and push rod operation is not the smoothest, but I think a small servo will have no problem working right through that, and got all the wiring through as well. Well, we're on to step 8 now, and that step is to apply the crossing sign. They do give 2 options. One I've cut out from this sheet of etched metal pieces with the raised railroad crossing letters, and then they also give a paper sign that can be glued to it. I'm going to try painting this railroad crossing sign white in the background and black raised letters, but we'll see how that goes. If it's terrible, I'm going to default back to the paper version. Well, I tried the painting method directly on the metal pieces, and didn't really like how that was turning out, so instead I cut out the paper crossing sign and have glued it on, and I'm just waiting for the super glue to dry, and hopefully that becomes a more uniform white once the glue is dried. As per step 8, I have also cut out and folded and attached one of these sign crossings. I'm not doing the 2 tracks sign below, I'm only doing the railroad crossing X sign. So just attach the top one. You can see that there. Well, it's not perfect, but the crossing sign is glued. I did realize, of course, afterwards that I glued it to the wrong side. The arm should lower to the left instead of to the right, since I'm in the US. But that's okay. I will just cut the railroad crossing sign off and reattach it to the other side. Not a huge deal. The execution of this has not been the best ever, but this is my first time building anything like this, and it is very small, and the angles and everything are tricky to get just right. So I do have another one to build, and we'll hopefully get that one a little bit nicer looking, but for the first time, I'm pretty happy with this, and I still will be getting the lights and the gate operational, but I'm gonna save that for another video. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and enjoy.